2023 was a chaotic year, full of good and bad things. Honestly, more bad than good. But let's stop thinking about the real world and all the problems that it has and get into the world of gaming. We had a lot of good and memorable games this year, but of course we also had some really bad ones. I can say with confidence that for this year, one game stood above all others, and that is Baldur's Gate 3. This will be Game of the Year, and there is no denying that. Still, I personally think that there is one more game that comes very close of being Game of the Year. Before I get to this game, I just want to shortly talk about a few other games that I've played this year, and why some of them don't even deserve to even be nominated for the Game Awards of 2023. So, with that in mind, let's start with the biggest disappointment of all of them, Starfield. This game completely broke my trust that Bethesda can deliver a good game. It has the most laziest game design I have ever seen in a AAA company. Nothing stands out in this game. Everything is bland and boring, especially the main story, the story that should have been the selling point of this game. It is so mediocre to a point that it even gives text messages instead of gameplay or cutscenes. Let's go over here where this guy will ask you to help him weld some panels.
Hey, you mind helping me weld up some of these panels?
You would expect to use your powerful laser that can cut and gather every mineral in the game. But no, you have to use a separate welder. You click the welder and a text message pops up telling you that you already did the job. A text message. What the hell? Then we go to the next companion where you have to search some boxes for certain parts.
This scanning equipment needs to be installed. I could use your help.
You would think that this will be an easy design by just opening a normal box, as they have plenty of boxes in the game that you can open, and in this box it has a few components and then you just pick the correct part from multiple options. Well, no. It's going to be another text message telling you already did the job. The dialogue feels like it was written by an AI, and no matter what you choose, the story will still progress the same. It just gives you the illusion of choice. The combat is probably the only decent aspect of this game, but it's also to be desired, as it's just a basic shooter. The exploration is almost non-existent, as you spend more time into the menu and loading screens than exploring the universe. And 80% of the planets that you are visiting are empty or just have the same pirate outpost on them. There is so much to talk about this game, but overall Starfield is a boring game with a mediocre story that has a lot of mechanics, but none of them are fully finished or fun to use. If you want a more detailed video of me talking about this game, as I've played over 180 hours, you can click on the above card that will take you to that video. I will also leave a link in the description. Overall, Starfield should not even be considered for the Game of the Year awards. Now let's get to Diablo 4. In my opinion, Diablo 4 is just Diablo 2 with better graphics and a fewer quality of life improvements. The open world is just an illusion, as we already had the same world back in Diablo 2, just separated by loading screens. Now it actually takes longer to traverse the world. The story is bland and mediocre. It's nothing we haven't seen from previous Diablo games. Still, I've put over 70 hours playing this game because the combat is really good, at least for the start of the game. You can finish the entire campaign at around level 40, and after is just the same content. It's just dungeons after dungeons, grinding to get better items and higher levels. But that's it, there is nothing else to keep my interest in this game. And I don't mind a game that has a farming or grinding mechanic as long as it's fun and satisfying. Unfortunately, the items and even level points that you get in the later game barely offers any substantial improvement, making this game an unfulfilling and repetitive experience. Basically a waste of time. I think Diablo 4 should have been released at least 10 years ago, not now. And because of that, I don't think this game should be considered for the Game of the Year awards. If you want to see a more detailed video of me talking about this game, you can click on the above card that will take you to that video. I will also leave a link in the description. Now let's get to the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Well, I kinda hate it. Mostly because we should have gotten this game as it is now back in 2020 when it was first released. The current Cyberpunk 2077 is truly an amazing game in every way. The story, the gameplay, the world building and the characters makes this game an absolute masterpiece. Unfortunately, Phantom Liberty is just an expansion, and personally, I don't think expansions to a main game should be considered for the Game of the Year awards. And that's all I can say about this game. Another game I played is Wartales. For starters, this game is a really good RPG. The story is mostly okay, but the main focus of the game is on the strategic turn-based combat and the morality of your party, as you can either be good mercenaries that help and protect the weak, or you can go full-on evil, stealing and killing. Honestly, I really enjoy the mechanics of being evil in this game. Sadly, we have a similar game that was released this year and does everything that Wartales does, but 10 times better, and that is Baldur's Gate 3. Now let's get to DREDGE. This game caught me by surprise this year. I went into it thinking it will just be a relaxing fishing game, but I was wrong. The story is really captivating, and the horror aspects of this game makes this one of the most original and unique games I've played in a very long time. The game mechanics are not that hard, but the execution of them is done masterfully. And let me explain why. Firstly, you are a fisherman who catches fish for a living. Your boat is the main character, as you need to use your savings to improve it. There are multiple types of fish and different gear to catch them. The inventory management and the overall grinding to level up your boat is very satisfying. The story, which I don't want to spoil too much, involves collecting some artifacts that are deep into the ocean. Every artifact has a unique way to obtain it, and the challenges to get to them are the best aspect of this game. The characters are memorable and each of them has unique personalities, and I love how they can bring these characters to life just by the art style and the dialogue they have. I actually have no bad things to say about this game. The story has a nice pacing and length, the world building is amazing, and the gameplay is unique. You don't need over-the-top or flashy mechanics to make a game stand out, and DREDGE is the perfect example of that. I think this game can win a prize for the best art style, or the most original game of the year. And now let's talk about the game that I think comes very close of being Game of the Year, and it might have been if not for Baldur's Gate 3. That game is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. The reason I think this game is so good is because of the gameplay. And don't get me wrong, as all the aspects of the game are good. The story especially is a truly Star Wars adventure with a lot of memorable moments. All the characters stand out, especially the main protagonist. Not only is he battling to survive, but you can see how his character grows as a person, experiencing love and even hate. Even the villains, who I'm not going to spoil, at first I thought they were the weak aspect of the game, and by the end, they turn out to be very interesting characters with complex backgrounds. But let's get into the bread and butter of this game, the gameplay. Firstly, the combat is fast-paced and incredibly dynamic, as you now have different lightsabers and each of them with different movesets. The combat is basically a Dark Souls game in space. This was already a big change, giving you a lot of different ways to battle enemies. But the addition of the Force powers work not only in combat, but they are integrated into the world as well. You can use them to solve puzzles, traverse the environment, and gain advantages over your enemies. And they went even more crazy by giving you a cute robot companion that also helps you during combat and of course traversing the world. Because of this, it opens up so many ways to play the game. The open world is beautiful, it feels alive with lots of different types of enemies, memorable encounters with friendly characters, and the numerous ways you can traverse and unlock different areas and puzzles. I have to say that Star Wars Jedi Survivor, in my opinion, is way more engaging and fun than the tactical combat of Baldur's Gate 3. Still, I know that there is no way to overthrow Baldur's Gate 3. The sheer amount of content that it offers, with the multiple paths that you can choose, is overshadowing Jedi Survivor. And even if the combat is more slow than the Star Wars game, it still has way more options and interactions than any game to this date. And that's it. I know that there are more good games that were released this year, but these are the games that I've played and my opinion on them. What do you think? Do you also agree with me on the Jedi Survivor game, or do you have a different opinion? Or maybe a different game that you consider to be Game of the Year? If you like this video, consider subscribing, and if you have a different opinion than me, leave a comment. Thank you, and I'm out.